Welcome back, mercenaries. I hope you are well, or at least as well as some of you can be. I know a few of you intend to ingest too much blue glass or black lace, but this report isn't intended to judge you for your choice of narcotic, rather ensure that you understand the gratuity of your situation. Ideally, from this report, you will have more contextual information on Night City, its background, the gangs and the corporations that occupy it. We will discuss the founding of Night City, the major movers and shakers, and some contextually relevant information around the major corporations and prolific gangs. As you continue to prepare for you to make your fortune in this city, this report will ideally provide enough material to keep you safe, or at least alive, for a little longer. To set the stage, Night City entered its original development around 1994, founded by Richard Knight, one of the heads of Hazley, Ferris, and Knight construction companies. Originally, Richard had envisioned Night City as a utopia of the future, housing plentiful opportunity for the honest work, advanced cybernetic corporations, affordable housing, and opportunity for all. At least that was the PR headline. The true facts of the story and the untimely end of Richard Knight paint a far more sorrowful tale. The city itself is situated in Del Coronado Bay and was slated to be named Coronado City. As the economic collapse came, many megacorporations looked for opportunities to explore tax havens and cities that would incentivize their corporate offices to be relocated, in a bid to survive the economic falloff by providing a unique trade-off for selected cities. Provide tax incentives or preferred access to local infrastructure, and we, the corporations, we will provide high-paying and coveted jobs, providing your people an opportunity to climb out of the self-imposed oppression, at least for the United States. In such cases, corporations look for areas free from gang warfare as well as local laws. Well, more favorable laws to the morally questionable work. In 1992, corporations such as Arasaka, EBM, or Euro Business Machines, and Petrochem had already invested millions in the opportunity for the haven of Coronado City. By 1993, construction of the new city, at least the major central hub, had begun, but it required a massive movement of pre-existing residents, offering relocation incentives to new areas in the surrounding areas of Coronado City, effectively becoming the new area dubbed Old Downtown. In retrospect, this was a costly mistake for Richard Knight. Unaware of the vehemence that was held for him by the local residents, being practically forcibly removed from their homes to a newly developed and underserviced area in the new Old Downtown, he would eventually meet his death due to organized crime syndicates, motivated by being kept out of the lucrative construction opportunities in the new Central City hub. Organized crime syndicates would make a statement to everyone in Coronado City, newly named Night City in the honor of Richard's death, that they would be entangled forever into the city, whether the mega-rich welcomed them or not. This is the world you live in, mercenary. For all its faults, the mega-rich and the corporate-backed have the power to make you move from your ancestral homes into the homes of driving more opportunities for profit. You are little more than fodder, retaliatory acts or not. Seemingly nothing can stem the tide of corporate machinations. By 2005, the mob, or organized crime, had effectively controlled all service-related businesses within Night City, and the corporations had complete control of both government and the major civic center. The local police force was practically ineffective in its ability to manage both and acquiesce to both, becoming a relatively symbolic force with little to no power. The line drawn between the two major factions became known as the Combat Zone, an area of lawlessness, burned out buildings, bombed out factories, uninhabitable by anyone but the desperate or those seeking an early afterlife. This area was created by the inability of the local police force to answer the demands of both corporate and mob powers, forming a region of battle and proxy war, with no clear definition on who is exactly fighting who. Gangs such as the Bloodraisers were the determined rulers of the war zone in the 21st century, offering monthly gatherers for all gangs, the ritual sport of Razor Ball. For some of you, this may sound like home, but allow this report to reiterate, this is not an area for the faint of heart. Many who enter this zone simply do not return. Quite literally, as if the map of civilization ends the moment you cross the intangible line of complete lawlessness. During the period of 2009 through 2011, the era coined simply the Mob Wars, Night City fell into perilous times, with constant violence spilling over into city streets. The megacorporations, unable to allow such travesty to exist within their newly secure tax haven of Night City, applied incredible military force. Corporation private armies such as the Arasaka paramilitaries were deployed en masse to the city streets, actively eliminating, hunting, and removing any potential gang or mob threat. The corporations, unsatisfied with simply removing the virus of lawlessness that had begun to plague the city streets, effectively removed all elected city officials, replacing them with their own lobbyists and puppets, further reinforcing corporation power and influence across the entirety of Night City. Affordable housing, low-rent apartments, and various moderate-income residential zones were taken over by corporation mercenaries and militaries, almost completely decimating the middle and lower classes in a few short years. By 2013, the mob wars would have effectively ended, and the stranglehold that organized crime had upon the city finally came to an end, at least the overt gang violence. There were still some relative pockets of resistance, but the gangs that had allied themselves with the mob realized that a full-scale resource-intensive war against privately funded and military-trained corporate mercenaries was a war they were not equipped to wage. Enter the Fourth Corporate War. While the corporate wars were covered at a high level in the last report, the Fourth Corporate War had a profound impact upon Night City, and that of the now reforming and rebuilding U.S. government. Roughly 30 years after the economic collapse, and about 10 or so odd years after the removal or dismantling of the Gang of Four. Remember that the Fourth Corporate War was started with IHAG declaring bankruptcy, and two rivaling aquacorps, Sino, the European-based corporation, and OTEC, the American-based corporation, began a series of structured attempts at buyouts of IHAG stock and assets. However, neither corporation had a considerable advantage over the other. Both unwilling to cede to their rival, invested in paramilitary corporations such as the Japanese-based Arasaka and the US-based Militech. Respectively, Arasaka would wage battles on behalf of Sino, and Militech would wage battles on behalf of OTEC in what was almost agency-based warfare, a strategy quite similar to how pre-collapse corporations would operate, by hiring out agencies to operate the day-to-day working operations on behalf of the client corporation. During the waning days of the Fourth Corporate War, a special operations group within Militech would detonate a small-scale nuclear warhead or suitcase bomb on the Arasaka Tower within Night City, attempting to create an area of denial for any rivaling megacorp to access the Arasaka data-based information or technical plans hidden within their Night City offices. This would create an almost uninhabitable zone within Night City. Roughly within 24 hours of detonation, much of the city center was reduced to rubble. Gas lines ruptured, electrical grids failed, water pipes collapsed, and the city center was reduced to a crumbling steel and twisted concrete mess. In the later days, the inhabitants of the Northern California Free State would begin to call this the Days of Red. due to the red particulate that would enter the upper atmosphere, forming a massive multi-mile high dust cloud, turning the surrounding area from friendly and clean blue skies to deadly radioactive red dust. The abandoned areas surrounding Night City would eventually become repopulated, but only after great effort from the local corporations and community representatives to provide some quality of living in this new normal of corporate escalation wars. After the bomb was detonated, an estimated 2 million souls were left homeless. Much of their multi-story apartment complexes either destroyed or deemed uninhabitable. However, the high adoption rates of cybernetic enhancements and human augmentation did provide Night City's denizens with a unique resistance and advanced survival opportunity, as many had radiation filters and other life-saving enhancements already installed. While certainly not a foolproof immunity, the radioactive fallout that typically sticks to the ground zero area and miles surrounding it had much less of an impact than previous impacts of events like Hiroshima, Nagasaki, or even Chernobyl. Reconstruction would eventually begin, with the Aldecaldo clan and their allies in the Storm Tech Corporation being the first to make landfall. They offered recovery, salvage, and infrastructure restitution-based projects for the remaining city council and its representatives. However, Night City was effectively abandoned by the US government and its current leader, President Kresh. While there are theories as to why this is, many speculate that Kresh had no intention in assisting a quote-unquote free state, regardless if they were considered a part of the Union or not. It was either that or simply Kresh did not have the resources to truly assist. This action, or rather inaction, by the US government firmly cemented Night City as a powerful and independent city-state of the world. Its people were, for lack of a better term, alone, and if they were to survive, they were to do it on the sweat of their own brow, free from government handouts. Fast forward another 30 or so odd years and you have the Night City of today, rebuilt, polished, but fragmented, with gangs, corporations, and political-minded all vying for control of concrete corners etched in the blood of wars past. This is only the surface of Night City and its history. We've yet to cover the gangs that occupy it, and while we've touched briefly on its past, this should help provide a clearer narrative as to why the city is so fragmented, is so lawless. It's built upon the sins of its forefathers, motivated by their greed, their own ambition for power and control, stopping at nothing, not even the destruction of their own city, in their bids to sit upon a symbolic concrete throne. But this shouldn't faze mercenaries like you, whether solos or netrunners or junkies or thrill seekers, even the more normal amongst you. You've all got a bit of killer in you, and it's likely Night City will welcome you, one arm outstretched and the other holding a knife ready to strike. Stay safe, mercenaries, or attempt to stay alive as best you can. I'm certain once you arrive in Night City, you will have the opportunity you so desperately seek.